So our second speaker, welcome, Cathie Renee from Faculty of Education. And Cathie's topic is the Kaleidoscope of Nature Relationship, parents and grandparents' perception of their children's and grandchildren's experience in the natural environment. Thank you, Cathie. Take it away.
Thanks so much. Let's check I'm on. Am I on? Yeah.
Yep.
So, hello everyone. Thank you for being here today. And I'm just going to share a little bit about my research. So I worked in health in my 20s to my mid-30s, and then I went and did an education degree and Bachelor of Education, and my research is with children aged 2 to 18 years. So I want to pay my respects to those children and also to the traditional custodians of the land that we're on today. I'm not from this region, so please help me, Gum and Bear.
Yep.
Is that correct? So thank you. And also to the grandparents that were part of this project and parents. So my research supervisor is Marianne Logan. She worked in education and science, and my course coordinator's up there, Katie. And my two questions that I asked were, how do parents, grandparents perceive their children's, grandchildren's relationship to as nature is experienced? And how do parents, grandparents perceive their children's, grandchildren's experiences in the natural environment impact their health and well-being? There's a bit of writing up there, but more or less it's just saying that I decided on this project because of my love of nature, just growing up, you know, really immersed in it. My parents always had, you know, gave the opportunities to do that. And as a teenager, through those difficult years that, you know, we're all challenged through, I started writing and a lot of poetry and things like that. And I would always seek nature, and I always found, you know, a lot of answers came through that connection. And it really made an impact in my life. And, you know, with all the central issues of climate change and things like that, and that beautiful connection that children and young people are having in that circle, I decided to, open discussion and exploration in the relationship that they're having today. I just want to say too, through this research, just before I started, I decided on a topic, and then the floods come through, and floods, fires. So yeah, that was really emotionally, you know, I felt like there was so much emotional trauma too, like with children working in the schools and their families, and, you know, just trying to bring that understanding of what we're actually living through today. And I draw on the theory of childhood nature, that's one word. So they're actually based here on the Gold Coast, with a group of people, and describes a child's lived experience and the multidimensional relationship to the physical and natural world. Sorry. The shared through a non-biased, non-linear or pervading experience. And yeah, the different aspects that brings. The innate value system which children breathe and which affords a deep and creative connection to the natural world. So the childhood nature really explores It was like a research project, and they brought a book out, and it really explored nationally and internationally those connections to nature, and really respecting the Indigenous nations and communities, and going back to grassroots, and how there's just that natural love, there's that natural relationship, whereas sometimes today it can be all about still that patriarchal, we're going to fix this, we're going to do. It's just about softening, bringing more space for that relationship to continue to bloom. So the methodology that I used, or am using, I'm 3/4 of my way through it. Was art-based research, which I didn't know about until I started this project. Mary and Logan recommended it, and I just love it. I think it opens up some really beautiful data findings, evaluations and things, and people are really engaged with it. Like, some people may fear art, but when you just have a read of that, it's an instrument and mechanism which supports a wide scope of human experiences. And if we look back to the original meaning of art, there's a few: skill as a result of learning or practice. The Sanskrit meant manner or mode of just the human, and the Greek was to prepare. There's another one that says it's science as well. So that was really interesting. And I just wrote, so art can be seen as a practice in which humans can engage in an intimate, reflective, creative manner to prepare drawings, paintings, sculpture, song, poem. And that's what we did in our workshops. We had 2 workshops. They were set in nature, and the parents and grandparents met. We could observe, engage in discussion, the activities. They could engage with the activities with their children and grandchildren after the workshops. And they took their journals home so they could continue their artwork through that. So this is some of the beautiful art that came out of those workshops. I gave a little activity, shared a little activity. We started, with our mindfulness and just being aware of our senses, and then we went into colour, and so just choosing like 5 colours, and then, just starting to notice what comes up for you when you're drawing that colour, as you reflect on your child or your grandchild, and the relationship to nature, or the impacts for them on health and well-being. And so there were some of the findings. So Lily said bananas and marigolds, they seek them out in nature and eat them and pull them apart and experience them, play with them, make them into fairy food and fairy blankets. And our other participant, Sarah, said magenta, Scottish thistle. We discovered on the boulders, and the blue was butterflies that landed on us in the sanctuary. And just continued with another colour. And Lily's art explored emotions and the physical actions and mental aspects of her grandchildren's experiences. She said, out in nature, the children or grandchildren run, walk, climb, jump, leap, swing, balance, touch, sensations. So this was observed when they took the journals home after the first workshop. The discovery, curiosities, they seem not to tire, and we all know that as parents and grandparents. The age of these children were from below 8 to 2. Happy, challenged, feel good about themselves, and they can be silent as well. And one of our other participants, or I could say artists, she decided to share about her oldest grandson. So Sally said there was always a chook yard. His family nurtured his interests. Losing birds to predators taught him about the loss and grief, the cycle of life, how to nurture. And there's Sally's beautiful artwork about that time. It also inspired imagination, they noticed, relationship to community. So Lily mentioned in this work, which was some photography work and just making notes as the children played. The children crossed this section in Lily's backyard to visit who they called the leaf people. Tells me that they are big like people. What do you do with them? I asked Daniel. Oh, we just sit with them and look at the bush together. We also did some sculpture in the workshop. This is of a frog that Sally shared. And I just want to end with a reading that she had connected to this. How much time have I got, Craig? Yeah, thank you. And this is all, you know, something probably you all know, you know, it's nothing new, but do we take that time, like Kate said, you know, instead of playing, just to be with our kids in nature, to listen, to explore their attitudes and how that can help to heal this earth, protect this earth, walk in those footsteps of the traditional owners, Indigenous people. And, you know, maybe change some of our perspectives too, and allow the children to have that sharing between, you know, the adults and grandparents, and also make room to listen to their perspectives, their, you know, beautiful openness and natural love and wanting to be close to the environment. So, I just want to say too, actually, before I read this, I'm 3/4 of the way through, so I find it quite challenging trying to incorporate the data. I'm using like a rhizome perspective analysis. So like art, it can be quite fluid. But when we look at, you know, those high rates of mental illness at the moment, especially after COVID, and just, you know, that lack of health for our children, our young people, like it's crucial right now. You know, it's calling out for some other perspectives, and also, yeah, just our earth. We need to, you know, think of ways that we can engage and love it more. So Lily said about her frog, the pond near the house. So in her narrative writing, in her journal, they watched the frogs leaping around and laying eggs. The children were fascinated. One child said he would like one as a pet in his bedroom. He was interested in how he saw the natural world and their life in it as a source for a pet. He and I then talked about this, and I asked him to consider what the frog would do in such a situation. He, the grandchild, had the idea he would sort out everything and sort out everything the frog needed. So we went on to talk about how he would do that. As to whether these were my pets or not, I spoke to him about creatures such as these not being my pets. They actually live here in the water, and we try our best not to change their existence. This notion of pets, Lily continued, and the natural world was, and his perspective of the natural world I thought was interesting. The children did, I think, understand that our role in caring for the natural world is about protection, not control or possession. Interaction with the natural world helps children learn and know about our world. So that was Lily's journal. So thank you for listening to my little research project.
Yeah, thanks, Cath. That was fantastic. Any questions from the audience?
How many participants did you? How many participants did you have in your workshops in nature?
So there were just small workshops, 3.
Yeah.
There was a lot of interest at the beginning, and then we had a period of extended rain over this summer period. So there was a few cancellations, and that impacted a little bit. But yeah, they were quite small, which was really nice. I think it helped people to open up, to be honest, and relax into just, if they didn't feel strong with art, gave them that space just to have a go. And so
you've got enough participants to sort of compare and contrast their experience.
And there were a lot of different participants, from different walks of life, different experiences, which I was really lucky about. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Cathie.
Thanks.
Any questions from the audience? Yeah, Katie, I was hoping to have one from you. Right up your alley.
I just wanted to add that this is an honours project as well, isn't it? So the participant numbers would be smaller than perhaps a much larger sort of 3-year PhD project as well. I'm really excited to see some of your data. This is the first time I've seen the data coming through. I'm curious, grandparents, when you're talking to grandparents about their perspectives of their children's engagement in nature.
Relationship to as nature and the impacts on
what I'm curious about is in those discussions through making art and talking about all of this, was there anything that came out about the grandparents' own experience, either with the children or perhaps from their childhood? It's such a rich perspective to take. I'm just interested.
I think those lines always overcross. I don't think any of us can disconnect from our own experience, even when we're with our child, like in any area of life. That we are who we are. And I know Mary-Anne, my supervisor, mentioned bringing in the humanist perspective, that shows that, like, just that fluid continuum. And that was really lovely too, because in their generation, it's so much more free. They would go to school with no shoes on, so they'd be in touch with the earth every day, and there weren't, the rules and maybe the policy there is with our children sometimes these days. I found that really refreshing, Kate's presentation, just to be raw, like to be with nature, to be allowed to be a human being. And so, that was really, really rich that I really felt grateful that they were part of it.
Well, we might have time for one last quick question.
It's probably a bit more of a statement, but I think it's really interesting, this stuff you just presented. I think in regards to the grandparents and the parents' perception of how their kids, their grandkids are experiencing nature, I think it's something that's sort of been a bit lost. And you know, if we can, even as parents, try and teach our kids and have these experiences to foster them to be able to connect and have a deeper appreciation of the environment, and when they're growing up, you know, that's going to be really beneficial for sort of the longevity of the environment. And yeah, it is really interesting. You talked about, you know, the grandparents, they're probably going to school with no shoes and they're connected to nature, and it's such a incidental thing that they would have grown up with, whereas now we've got kids where they're not getting that incidental exposure.
The freedom,
The mental health's affected, and they don't know where the outlet is. So I think it's really interesting, and I thought it was good.
Thank you. Yeah, totally agree.
Well, we might call that a wrap. Look, thanks very
Craig.
much, Cathie, for coming on. And it's so nice to have more honest students turning up at Praxis too. So